Hi, I'm Charlie Oliver.
And I'm Jeanette Stark.
And I'm Kelly Sharp.
And you're watching Better Life Today. And I'm so happy that you've joined us. Man, a lot has changed since the last time we met. Jeanette has moved somewhere else, which required a lot of technology to bring you back into the studio. So Jeanette, welcome. I'm happy to have you back with us today.
It's good to be back, Charlie. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Kelly Sharp has joined our team recently, and we're gonna learn more about that story coming up. But welcome, Kelly.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we're excited that you've joined us as well. We have a great program. We're going to be talking about cooking. We're talking about community. We're talking about all of these different things. And I wanted to start with Jeanette. Jeanette moved to Alaska. It's one of those things, I think, where she turned left instead of right, and you just end up where you end up. But seriously, it really, to me, it talks about what does it mean when we follow God's leading. And that can be a little bit scary, but I'm just going to leave it to you to tell us a little bit about what's going on, Jeanette.
Let's look at some pictures. I took this picture along with many others on the flight from Juneau to Haines. And as you can see, God provided a spectacular weather day. It was bitter cold, but it was beautiful. This is one end of Main Street in Haines. And when I saw it, I gasped and said out loud, have I ended up in a Hallmark movie? And I took this photo the very first day I arrived there. And this video here, this is that end of Main Street. This is the Port of Haines, Alaska. It's located on Lynn Canal. And so fascinating, Lynn Canal is the deepest fjord in North America, aside from Greenland. There's no mail delivery in Haines, so I get to go to the post office daily. If there's a UPS or a FedEx delivery, I drive out to the little airport here and pick up those deliveries. And it's just a really neat way of life.
Right. Well,
yeah.
I find this really interesting. Stepping out into the unknown. How did you adjust to that, and did you still feel God leading you through that?
Absolutely. In fact, I'm more convinced now that God is leading. I'm more convinced now that He put those desires on my heart so long ago, and that He's now, allowing those desires to come to fruition. Excited every day to see where God leads.
And frankly, that's what God calls us to do. Kelly, you've had a little bit of a journey as well. I know we had talked for some years about possibly having you come and join us on the Better Life team.
Yes.
And so this year, it's happened. So tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, so we had talked about it a little bit, and then nothing, I didn't end up joining the family. I'll just give you a little testimony. I don't know if I've told you this before. So I was doing a different line of work, and we had touched bases a couple times, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do, and I bowed my head and I said, Lord, I'm going to put out my fleece. I said, if this is the job for me, then have Charlie Oliver himself give me a call. And because I was nervous, I didn't know if God was, it's scary to take a new job, like where is God leading me? And a couple days later, maybe a week later, I didn't recognize the phone number, and I listened to a message, and it was actually from Charlie Oliver. So I said, okay, Lord, this is where you're leading. I don't think I told you that before.
No, you did not. Frankly, that's a little intimidating to me, because I remember making a similar call to Jeanette some years ago. And I, as some people might know, I kind of fly by the seat of my pants a lot of times, and sometimes I miss things. I intend to make a call, I intend to do this, and things fall through the cracks. So I'm just so thankful that I made that call, and it is just such a joy to have you here with us today.
And I'm so thankful to be here. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, one of the things we've been doing a lot of, including going and speaking in churches and just ensuring that if we are in a community, as far as broadcasting, sharing stories about Jesus, that we are actually in the communities. So been out speaking, talking with leaders, talking with the conference, talking with churches of how Better Life can better enhance what they're trying to do as they're engaging in community. And Jeanette, that's kind of what Better Life Today came out of. When we were reimagining this program, it was how can we highlight the good things that are happening in community? And one of the things we do here every single morning is we sit down, we have worship, and we get to read letters. We get to talk about what's on your heart. And that's something you've been able to start doing as we come in together for worship.
Yes, I have been enjoying lots of times when people send in a donation, they will send a little note with it, which is so nice. Lots of times they're prayer requests, or they can be a praise, and some of them are just praises and thanks for Better Life and what it is doing in their life and how it's bringing them closer to God. And then some of them are praises on, oh, I had asked you guys to pray for me and God answered my prayer and I'm so thankful. One lady had she didn't write in, but she called in and she was saying that her son or her grandson had had cancer and that you guys had actually prayed for her and for her grandson and he was in remission. And she wanted to let us know that he was still in remission. So it's nice to hear how God is working, how he's moving through Better Life and how he's touching lives.
It really is.
Amen.
It's so encouraging when we get to hear your stories and just the privilege. It seems like sometimes people write and they're almost apologizing that they're letting us in on what's happening in their life and taking up our time. But my perspective and our perspective here at Better Life is it's just a joy. It's a privilege that we get to pray for other people. And then when we hear those answers to prayer, we hear about what God is doing in somebody's life. It's an amazing privilege. Dan took a call a couple of weeks ago. Jeanette, tell us about that call.
Her name is Leah. She loves our programming. She watches a lot of our nature channel, and she's going to do some painting. But she said to Dan, did you know that buffalo face into the storm? And she intends to do a painting on this, buffalo facing into the storm. And I thought we'd look at 3 different points here, things we can learn from the buffalo. So number 1, facing challenges with faith. Sometimes our faith is super strong and then a challenge comes along and it just knocks us off our feet and our faith is weak. But facing challenges with faith. So James 1:2-4 reminds us to consider it pure joy when facing trials. The testing produces perseverance, and that leads to spiritual maturity. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I look back at times in my life, and they still happen all the time, where I feel like I'm being tested, and I don't like it. But I think of the things that we find important. You know, we exercise so that we can improve our life in some way. We do all of these things, and to know that God is using testing to grow us, I think it kind of changes our perspective a little bit on what that means and what will come out of the other side. So as hard as it can be, it's so important, and I'm grateful for it.
Yeah. Obviously it's important, or God wouldn't have told us to embrace it, right? To consider it joy. All right, number 2, endurance through adversity. Endurance, storms in life, grief, hardships, difficult circumstances. These are all inevitable, but Romans 5:3-4 tells us that suffering produces character and hope. Suffering does that. It's like, really, suffering produces hope? How is that possible? Well, it's not possible if you don't, have the faith and holding God's hand there.
All right, Romans 5:3-4 says, not only that, but we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, endurance produces character, and character produces hope. Hope can be in such short supply. And so I'm so thankful again that there's this pathway that God can use the things that are happening in our lives, the prayer requests, the things where we get a glimpse into other people's lives to produce this hope and this reliance on God, that without those, it would be a much rougher journey.
Amen.
Yeah.
All right, number 3, the last of them, moving forward. So rather than letting storms stop us, we keep moving forward in faith. We know that God is with us every step of the way. And I couldn't help but think of Isaiah when he tells us or commands us do not be afraid. So would you share that verse?
I'll share that verse, and I just wanted to touch on that verse as well. So I always say that if I'm reading my Bible and studying and I go to the same verse 2 or 3 times during the week, then the Lord he's telling me that one thing. And over the last couple years, he has really I've just came to this verse so many times in my Bible studies, probably more than any other verse in my life. And so I thought it was, so it's a special verse to me, and I thought it was, it's just comforting. So I'll go ahead and read that. It says, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God." And then it goes on to say, "I will strengthen you. Yeah, I will help you. I will uphold you with the right hand of my righteousness." It reminds me of, I love kids, and so I'm trying to always tote around a kid if I can. Anyone who has a kid, I'm, grabbing the baby or the toddler, and, you carry them so proudly and so strongly. You don't want to fall or hurt them. We're so careful with them. And it just reminds me of the Lord, how strong his right hand is. And nothing can really get through us or to us if the Lord is holding us up. So it's just a beautiful promise. And it says, "Fear not." We can be so fearful when life is changing, friends are changing, jobs are changing, the world's changing, so many things are changing. And so I love that the Lord is telling us, "Fear not, I am with you."
That's right.
Amen.
And
Amen.
that the fact that we have Jesus in our lives, if we have conditioned ourselves to lean into that, hope becomes the antidote to the fear that we just feel when we look around us.
Yeah. So how can we be more like the buffalo, right? Just face the storm head on. It seems to be the most efficient way to endure. And of course, who's in charge of the storm? Charlie.
Yeah, absolutely. Jesus, he's in charge of all of those things. So just know that when you're being buffeted, that Jesus has a plan that will carry you through that.
One of the things we enjoy doing on Better Life today is we like to feature a cooking lesson. So we're going to feature a cooking lesson from our dear friend Karen Breyer. Today she is going to be demonstrating a quick and easy recipe for French lentil rice soup.
Hello, and welcome to Cooking Lessons for Dad, where you learn to cook healthy, cook easy. My name is Karen Breyer, and today we're making a delicious French lentil rice soup. This is really easy to make in a crock pot or slow cooker. Very flavorful, hearty, healthy. I think you're going to love it. The ingredients in this recipe are chicken broth, or you can have water and a chicken style instant seasoning, which I'm going to use that. Lentils, diced carrots, diced onions, diced celery, uncooked brown rice, minced garlic, thyme, kosher salt or salt of your choice, and ground black pepper. So the first thing that we need to do is rinse and drain the lentils. We want to check them, make sure that there's no rocks or debris in it. So we'll go do that next. Looks good, nothing unusual in there. Okay, that's good. We'll go put them in the crock pot. Okay, we're going to put our lentils into a crock pot or a slow cooker. Next, we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. So I have water and instant chicken broth seasoning. You could use regular chicken broth, regular instant chicken broth. This is a vegan, so it's like a chicken style instant broth seasoning. Very delicious, very healthy. And if you can't find this, I have a recipe that you can make it by hand. Very simple. Anyways, we're going to start with 8 cups of water. And 8 teaspoons of the chicken broth seasoning. I'm going to do 2 tablespoons and 2 teaspoons to make 8. The other nice thing about this is you can adjust it to your taste. At the end, you can try it. If you want a little bit more chicken flavor, you can add it without adding more water. Okay, that was 8 teaspoons. Stir this. Next, 1.5 cups of diced carrots. And I diced all the veggies small because the lentils are small. If you have big pieces, it will kind of cover up the lentils and it looks nicer if they're all similar size. So also 1.5 cups of diced onion, 1.5 cups of diced celery, 1/4 cup uncooked brown rice, 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, and you could mince your own or get already minced garlic, what I have. Then 2 teaspoons of thyme, 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt, or whatever salt you like. I like this salt. And I'm going to guess on a half here. You can adjust the seasonings to your taste. It's better to add a little less salt, a little less pepper, and then at the end you can add more if you like. So now 1/2 teaspoon of ground pepper. Stir all the ingredients. So we're going to cook this on high, 3.5 to 4 hours, or low, 7 to 8 hours. I'm not crazy about these clamps, but when you're traveling, if you're taking food somewhere, it's really nice that it doesn't leak out in your car. So let me turn the power on. I'm going to set it to 3.5 hours. I'll check it on high. There we go. You're going to cook it until the lentils are as soft as you like them. So I'll check it at 3.5 hours. If they're not done, I'll add some more time. So we'll see you in about 3.5 to 4 hours. Okay, it's been about 4 hours since our French lentil rice soup has been cooking, and we're going to go ahead and try it. I probably should have checked it earlier, but I didn't. I got detoured. It smells amazing. Oh, the whole place smells amazing. So we're going to go ahead and stir things around. And I'm quite sure the lentils are cooked. This is a really good recipe for leftovers. Everybody loves it when they can just go to the fridge and heat up a bowl real easily. It's very satisfying. Okay, let's try some. You could add a little more salt and pepper right now if you like. And if you don't want this much, you could cut the recipe in half. I'm going to let it cool just a minute. I'm ready to try French lentil rice soup. So delicious. I love it. It is so delicious. I hope you try it, and I'll see you in the next lesson.
That looked super yummy. You know, I was looking at Karen's website a few weeks ago, and she has a recipe on there for honey butter. Oh. And I remember the first time I tried honey butter, a bagel shop had opened in Grants Pass. This was many years ago. And one of their featured spreads was honey butter. I'd never had anything like it in my life. It was so yummy. But yeah, yummy, 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 honey butter.
That's right. So be sure to check out her website, cookinglessonsfordad.com. We'll have that up on the screen for you. So our next segment, we are going to be talking about books. I don't find nearly as much time as I used to enjoy just sitting down and reading a good book. A lot of times I'm listening to them now. Jeanette, you have a book that has been really impactful on your life. Share that with us.
I do. It's Steps to Christ. And this was a book that, you know, I remember seeing on my mom's bookshelf all through my childhood. I was given the book then as I moved into adulthood, and it sat on my bookshelf through most of my adulthood, a lot of my adulthood. Until 2020, the end of 2020-21, Wendell was very sick, and I was home with him. He eventually passed away from cancer. But I was home, And again, God designed. I know that was a God thing because I was able to be home, but I got into Bible study and into real intentional prayer, and more so into reading this book that I had seen all of my life. I'd read here and there, I'd seen quotes, but I'd never read it, cover to cover. And it was such an inspiration to me. So I just want to encourage you to read this book. It's small, it's short, super easy to get through if you're not into deep reading or long-lasting reading. But I wrote down a couple of quotes I do want to share from Steps to Christ. Beautiful quote. Christ was treated as we deserve, that we might be treated as he deserves. And then prayer is the opening of the heart to God as to a friend. And prayer does that. Sometimes we think it's too simple, but in fact, it's the most powerful source that we have available to us. So I would just encourage you. Prayer is talking to God as a friend. So keep that line of communication open. Don't reserve it just for the morning or just for the night or just for mealtime. It could be an all day long conversation. Yeah,
that's right. Prayer, unfortunately, sometimes it becomes a ritual. It's just something we do. And Steps to Christ really talks about how prayer is this conversational connection with our Father in heaven. And I'm as guilty as anybody. Something's happening in my life, and my first impulse is not to pray a lot of the time. My first impulse is I just need to do this or I need to do that. And we want to have a connection so tight with Jesus that he is our first impulse, whether it's a challenge, whether, you talked about kids. Having kids is an incredible opportunity to pray, because there are so many times, at least for me, when I have absolutely no idea what to do.
Right.
And to know that we have that friend that we can lean into, who will walk us through that, it's just a beautiful thing.
We would like to give you guys a copy of Steps to Christ. If you would call the number on your screen and ask, we'd love to send one out to you. That is our free offer today.
All right. Speaking of books, we are reading a new book for worship right now that I just wanted to encourage you. We'll talk about this in more detail in another episode. But this book is called Unoffendable. It's written by Brant Hansen. And, I look around the world and it's so easy for me to get frustrated and frankly offended at what's going on. And this offers a biblical way of looking at the world that really can transform how we engage with it. So we'll talk more about that another time.
Okay. All right. This is one of my favorite portions of the show. This segment is our Bible trivia. And kind of thought about this after a conversation you and I had, Charlie, many months ago, that you like to play Bible games with your kids, or you did. Maybe
I do, but it's not on camera and I'm not on the spot. It means I win or I lose. So I'm glad it's your favorite. I'm always a little bit nervous, so bring it on.
It is my favorite because I'm not on your end, I'm on my end. All right, Charlie Kelly, name that city. All right, this is today's trivia. Name that city. This city was founded by a general of Alexander the Great in the 4th century BC. All right, it is located in modern-day Turkey.
Modern-day Turkey, Smyrna.
It is one of the most significant cities in early Christianity.
That was her way of telling me I was way off the bat there. Okay.
True. It is the city where Jesus' followers were first called Christians.
I'm not.
Acts 11:26. And when he had found him, he brought him to Antioch.
Oh, Antioch.
For a whole year, they met with the church and taught a great many people. And in Antioch, the disciples were first called Christians.
All right.
So
the answer was Antioch. And for those of the many of you who knew that well before Kelly or I figured it out, give us a call or send us a message and rub it in. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes.
Rub it in a little bit. According to my research, Antioch was heavily influenced by Greek culture. The city had theaters, bathhouses, colonnaded streets, public forums. It was known for chariot races and a strong military presence. Some ancient writers describe Antioch as a city of indulgence, wealth, and loose morals, with temples dedicated to various gods, and yet, that is where the disciples were first called Christians. I love the way God works.
Absolutely, absolutely. So in one of our past episodes, or several of our past episodes, we have encouraged people to call in and share with us who they are and where they're from. And we have a couple of those to share with you right now. Let's take a listen.
I'm Paz, and I'm from Medford, Oregon. I watch you guys all the time, and I enjoy it very much. God bless you. Bye-bye.
My name is Beverly Finney. I live in Grants Pass. I watch it early in the morning, late at night. I like everything, the cooking, the exercise, the gospel. I love it all. I appreciate it so much. Thank you very much. Love you all. God bless.
We at Better Life would like for you to call in and let us know where you are viewing from. If you could call at 541-237-5025. We would love to hear.
That's right. Well, this has been a lot of fun, and it's ending all too soon. But Jeanette, do you have anything else on your heart you'd like to share before we wrap up?
Well, I found a quote by C.S. Lewis that I just love and I've really embraced in this season of my life. C.S. Lewis once wrote, "You are never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream."
So I just want to thank you for joining us on Better Life today. It's always fun to come together and hear a little bit about what's going on in one another's lives. And I want to leave you with just the one thought, that God has you on a pathway. God has you where you are in the community where you are for a reason. And you have a story to share. You have things that you can share from your experiences that will serve to point people to Jesus, to encourage one another. And so just keep that in mind as you're out there today engaging with other people, that God has a plan that includes you. We'll see you on the next episode of Better Life Today.